theme that we have is a bit of a doozy. The second thing we're looking at this week is on using the names of the week to teach some things about spelling. And that's how I want to think about this. This is an etymological lesson that gets at the importance of word origin and history of words. That's what we're trying to get across. That knowing where a word came from and the background behind it can help you understand its spelling. The goal of this is not to get everybody to think about the days of the week necessarily. This is the vehicle. The goal is etymology. So keep that in mind as you get bogged down in a minute, because this is kind of heavy. First of all, I need to tell you that we have the discs now at school, and this toolbox theme is going to look slightly different from the one in your kit. It is new and improved. Melfin's done a lot more work to it, and there's some enhancements. These items, for example, are downloadable on the theme. So I did that to show you. And the word study reps will have access to these. So the summary of the theme is that why are the days of the week spelled the way they are? Because they are sort of funny little spellings. And I had a conversation last night with Sydney about these, and we're all in agreement. They don't necessarily, they're not spelled the way you would expect. And can we use their etymology to help us spell other words? Okay? This theme is going to explain that the days of the week draw their names from ancient cultures, that the words that are used for the days of the week are, except for Saturday, of Germanic origin, and they're going to help us apply what we've learned to the spelling of the word friend, okay, which is another one that kids can get hung up on. So he starts out the theme by talking about what he calls the English soup. And this is the idea that our language is primarily made up of Old English. But into that Old English soup was thrown Greek words, Latin words, French words, which also count for Old Norse words, and various other languages. If we understand that, we can start to think about words and their histories and get some information. These words right here, woman, man, child, winter, milk, these words came from Old English, and they're still pretty much intact. Words like chef, chauffeur, and boutique came from French. Sky, skin, skill, and skirt, you notice the SK at the beginning, all came from Old Norse. Latin words like church, monk, priest, and altar, little theme there, all come from Latin. Greek words, PH, which makes the sound, like photograph and elephant, are coming from Greek, as are echo and stomach that are using CH to represent k. Yes. So, this information for kids, as in-depth as you want to go with your level, is going to give them that idea that this English spelling makes sense. This is one of the reasons it makes sense, is if you can step back to this. The next thing I think that he applied in this theme that I thought was really nice, he gave me some questions to start out with that I could post for kids. And these were 3 that I have, and Sydney added 1 last night at dinner. Sunday and Monday rhyme, but they're spelled differently. Why? Why not? They're both days of the week and everything. Why can't we just get those common? Why is there a D in Wednesday? Why is there a U in Saturday? And she said, and what about Tuesday? Because there's that E in there. So this theme helps to answer some of those questions. He starts off with looking at the first day of the week, which is Sunday, and makes a distinction that for most people, they sometimes get that confused and think Monday's the first day of the week. And I laughed about our area of the world where Sunday really is the first day of the week. But he looks at Sunday and Monday. Sun came from the Anglo-Saxon idea of the brightest star in the sky. Essentially, the most important thing was the sun. So the first day of the week became the most important day of the week, which was Sunday. From there, the second day of the week was named after the second brightest star, which was Moon, and we call it today, Monday. To make this link, he's provided a new matrix, okay? And this matrix helps to explain how Moon, if you take out the O, also gets us to month, which makes sense thinking about moon because it's a moon cycle, monthly and months. So again, knowing origin and where these things are coming from and how they're connected by meaning can help with spelling. From there, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday are the Germanic names of gods, Anglo-Saxon gods, from my understanding. I hope you can look and make sure I'm getting all the phrasing right. But these gods, interestingly enough for kids, Tuesday, what I'm not going to pronounce right, was the god of war. Woden was the chief god. Thunor was the god of force or thunder. And Frigg was the god of love or affection. Okay? And this is going to makes a connection to
fun.
Exactly. This is going to fascinate kids, and you can do a lot of conversation around these things. Something interesting to note, and he does it so well in this chart, is that you see how these are all written like that Old English script, but Saturn is not. And it's because, and again, I'm trying to get my history, but my understanding is that after the collapse of the Roman Empire, this language came in, and they transferred their gods for the names of the week. Roman gods were actually already there, but when they got down to Saturday, they couldn't think of a better one, and so they kept Saturn. These four were their four main gods, so that made sense, but here they just kept the old Roman god to represent that day. Okay? So, when we look at it like this, you can begin to see by the old structure how those modern day English structures came about, okay? And with Friday, the G was dropped off, and with Saturday, the N was dropped off. So that would explain the U in Saturday, the D in Wednesday, going back to Woden. What was my other question? For Sydney, the E, I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but I think it may have something sort of with a pronunciation. I'm going to say like Tuesday. The other interesting thing about Wednesday that he notes in the theme is the D there, we've kept it to provide a historical link. It doesn't serve a purpose for sound, but it serves a structural purpose to help us identify where that word came from. And that's something to talk to kids about because there's letters that do that still for us.
And maybe the E, just hypothetically, the E in Tuesday is to tell us that it's a long U sound.
That could very well be.
Because that was the reason for adding E to some words, right?
That's right, but we can't put two U's because we already have a double U.
Right.
That's right. Good. That's a good theory.
And I remember reading something too about Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. It's thinking about that since they're like the strongest gods, right? It was the male, like they're the center of the universe, so that's why they're the center
Of the
those
week.
three are the center of the week.
Nice. I like that. And any of these kinds of stories, I think, this is what we're going for. We're trying to teach kids that by knowing history, you can think about spelling in a new and different way. And it gives, I think, what Pete calls those like cognitive anchors. It's not just memorization. I have a reason to remember it. The other thing that I noticed from his write-up that I thought was very interesting was that in English, the names of the week are proper names and they're uppercase. In other languages, they're not. But when you think back that we uppercase proper nouns or names of people, and these are essentially, important people, it kind of makes sense. So just another thing to talk to kids about. Friday, because one of the other things we wanted to talk about was how to spell friend. The connection, which I know you already picked up on, between Friday and the old word for the god Frigg was love and affection, right? And that can also explain what friend is. This is a matrix. It doesn't work if you think of friend as the base, but if you think of the base as fry, which it very well may be, then you can fit in here both of these terms. So friend and Friday, but I can't add any suffixes or anything over here. I probably could with Friday. Well, I couldn't, could I? Yeah. So this is where, this is an interesting mock-up of a matrix that shows that I could read across like this. Unfriendly or befriended, right? And this is all the words that I could make from this matrix. So extending this out to kids and giving them a go at playing with matrices probably, you can do it through this theme.
And was that from Melvin?
This is from Melvin, yep. And it's either in the theme or it was in his toolbox, I'm not sure which. But you're welcome to take from me. Questions?
Friend ever be a base? Friend is never a base.
That's a good question. Can you write it down and put it on the wonder wall? Because that'll be something for Pete to talk about. I think that, and I could be completely off base, but I think that there's sort of levels of bases, and I think you could take a whole word as a base for a teachable moment.
Right.
I think for the little kids to keep friend intact as a base to practice adding plural
Right.
suffixes or
Right.
something like that. But when we're going really deep like this, it would make sense to break it out. And to
That
help,
would be a bound base,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, and it would help to, for this link in particular, because our goal being, we want to learn from the etymology of Friday to help us spell the word friend.
And that's why you wouldn't, like, we would always spell the base. Because
Right, because I
you
use
don't say
fry.
fry and friends,
F-R-I.
and friend,
Right,
right?
exactly, and that's something I have to always keep working
Yeah.
on. But so those are the themes for next week. I will put up pictures of all of these charts as well as these are accessible for you, and onwards and upwards.
Awesome.